Oh my god. Okay, there's a value here. And my favorite part is how awesome. It looks like a Microsoft commercial from the 90s because it's like Libre Office. Like, I want there to be some like 90s voice being like, my spreadsheet doesn't do this.
My spreadsheet doesn't do that.
Very cool.
This is kind of incredible.
I kind of blew my mind.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Feature Crew. In a little bit of a surprise announcement today, Anthropic released their first attempt at agents. It's not a fully fledged product, it's more of a open source development tool, but it comes along with a new version of Claude 3.5 Sonnet that Anthropic claims is way better at agentic sort of reasoning and tool use. And so with that new model, they've shipped an open source tool called Computer Use, where the agents can control a virtual desktop environment, both the cursor, the keyboard, everything. So we're going to give it a test. I played around a little bit just to make sure I understand how it works. Chris hasn't yet. It'll be first time reactions for him. And we're excited to put it through its paces and see how good Anthropic's first attempt at agents are.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Okay, so we have the Claude Computer Use demo loaded up. On the left is the chat where we tell the agent what to do, and on the right is the actual virtual desktop that our agent is interacting with. We can control the virtual desktop as well as the agent. So first, just to show you how it works, we're going to have it do a super simple task with the calculator and calculate what 2 plus 2 is. So you can see it's pretty quick. Like it already got its first response there. It's pulled up the calculator.
It's thinking about it.
Oh.
Air it out.
We got an error. All right, so without debugging this has happened to me a few times in tests. This is still a very early product, so we're just going to kind of power through these errors and cut some of them out in the later in the video. But we'll tell you at the end how many errors we hit. Here it goes.
All right. Yeah, that's still tripping me out because the buttons get pressed, everything looks like it's getting clicked, but no mouse cursor moves.
Yeah, I think it's not rendering it because I think in the screenshots, let's see on the left if we can see. Yeah, see in the screenshots you can see the cursor because it needs to have an understanding of where it is. I guess it's just not rendering it on the right.
It's just so fast.
We'll jump over now to some harder tasks to see what it's capable of. The first one I have here at the bottom of the screen. So I have this sort of demo fake email inbox environment. It's inspired by one of the first scenes in the movie Her, where Samantha the assistant cleans up the main character's inbox. And so we wanted to see how close we are to that wow moment in real life. So you can see there's a demo inbox here with some emails flagged as important, some important emails that aren't flagged, some less important emails, some already read emails. And we'll ask the agent to kind of reason over what it sees on the screen and then decide what it should do, suggest that to the user, and then with the user's approval, go ahead and complete the task.
As you submit that command, probably worth mentioning, kudos to these folks for shipping this before OpenAI. Folks might recall a demo of OpenAI operating, I believe it was an iPad. They had claimed to have this sort of agentic feature, and that's not out yet, so Anthropic first to the fight here.
Okay.
Right, it saw it.
Okay, so it suggested some emails that it can clean up. It's talking about, it's suggesting that we delete the Netflix promotional email and the e-commerce cart reminder. So it recognized the ones that were already read. And then newsletter special offers and marketing team monthly newsletter, both not already read, but definitely the least important emails, I would say, from this short list here. So it's kind of cool to see it able to reason over what it sees, and then now we'll tell it to go ahead and see if it can actually make the changes that it suggested. So you can see one already deleted. It's working through here.
I mean, this is pretty cool because this app isn't in the training data, right? Like, this is just, you made it quick with 4.0, so it's provably reasoning over the screen.
So it looks like it kind of half completed the task here. Like, it claims that it's done. It did not delete either of the newsletter tasks. So I'll see if... So yeah, it made it halfway through.
Okay.
But it wasn't able to delete all of the tasks that it suggested. Let's see if I tell it that it missed an email.
Worth discussing, do we think it can see the whole object on the view, or is it purely vision-based? Like, is it scrolling the view at all, or is it just, hey, here's the emails I see in view based on where you placed the window?
It sees exactly what we see in the chat here. So if it went past the viewport, then it would have to scroll. And I've seen in my testing that it can scroll.
Okay, we'll scroll. Hey, that's cool.
Okay. So it was able to delete that last newsletter email once I gave it the feedback, right? It understood, oh, I messed up, and then it finished the job. So impressive, right? We're still seeing these like reliability issues with long-term goal following that have prevented agents from becoming more mainstream, and we're still waiting, I think, for a solution to that. But it's cool to see these incremental gains. Like, and definitely the model behind the scenes here is like holding up well to the task.
And this approach makes all the sense in the world to me. I mean, there were hot takes on Twitter that why are we using Vision? Why don't we just, use APIs? And it's because a bunch of the stuff you want to do online isn't going to have a great API, isn't going to have an easy way to access it. You're going to want it to do stuff for you on websites that are old, out of date, or poorly built. Like, the world was built for human interaction, so why not teach this thing to interact humanly? I totally think that you're going to have certain interactions happen just between avatars or using API calls or whatever, but making sure it can handle just a rough UI that someone put on their website, to me feels like table stakes, because if you're charging me in the future $100 a month for Super Agent X, and I show it this is top of mind for me, some terrible like fencing contractor website that hasn't been updated in 20 years, and it can't handle that, I'm not going to feel very good about my purchase. So that I think this approach makes a ton of sense.
Cool. Speaking of personal tasks, we were talking about testing its ability to create a plan for a big event that you might host, like Thanksgiving dinner. So we're going to give it sort of an ambiguous prompt, like what does actually creating a plan mean? We can see at the bottom of the screen that it has access to both like spreadsheets and an open source document editor. So we're curious which one it's going to pick.
Super curious to see what it picks and what it decides is important here.
All set up. And we'll ask it to create that plan for Thanksgiving dinner. And also I'm telling it to save it in the hopes that that'll make it more likely to actually use a file.
Before folks jump in, we are purposely not using overly descriptive prompts. You could, of course, write a prompt that says use this exact piece of software, do it this way with these columns. But we really want to see how it reasons over this, and to do that we want to give it a lot of leeway. And it didn't use anything other than the chat pane. It says it saved it. Is that real?
That's a really good question. Tool
Is there
use.
a file explorer?
There is, but let's see if it can pull it up.
Oh, okay. Made a plan in text.
It sure did. Okay, it planned out a menu, some side dishes.
It knew when Thanksgiving was. I do like that whipped cream itself as a dessert. Just, if you're not feeling like the pie, just go straight for the whipped cream.
Yeah. So it's cool that it chose to open it in the text view, which is interesting. Like, I'm curious how it would take this same data and save it as a spreadsheet.
Is it also stating its assumption for number of people? I'm just looking at the quantities here. I think it did.
No. I mean, it's not necessarily the most effective plan.
Just curious how it interprets the word plan. It sort of interpreted this as meal plan, which still you'd think have people in it.
I'm going to ask it to see if it can make edits to an existing file. I'll ask it to adapt it for 30 people, which is clearly more than it was planning for here.
Huge Thanksgiving.
It's interesting that it doesn't use the UI to make these changes. It seems like it's writing commands.
It says it made them.
It says it made edits. I'm wondering if the I have no idea how this open source text editor works, so I wonder if it needs to be refreshed. I'll just do that manually. Changed on disk. Oh, and it did make the changes. Look, 2 roast turkeys, traditional stuffing triple batch, gravy triple batch. Okay, this is actually pretty impressive.
That's pretty good.
The multi-turn here really... Okay, I don't know if you could tell, viewers, we just got interested.
A lot more of normal potatoes. A few more of the other ones. Sweet potatoes.
Okay, I'm gonna ask it to transform this into a structured list and then open it in the spreadsheet viewer.
This says Replit demo vibes, right? This is more impressive than I thought it'd be. I really thought we were gonna have a very shaky series of demos here, but that's pretty impressive. This I'd be very impressed by.
If it can do the transfer?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I also wouldn't be surprised if it is able to do the task, at least partially, but then stops before opening it, right?
Right.
Okay, it created a file. It's a CSV file. Oh, it's opened the...
It's importing the file.
It's importing the file. You can see the categories, the items. I mean, okay. There's oh my god. Okay, there's a value here. And my favorite part is how awesome. It looks like a Microsoft commercial from the 90s because it's Libre Office. I want there to be some 90s voice being my spreadsheet doesn't do this.
My spreadsheet doesn't do that.
Very cool.
This is kind of incredible.
It kind of blew my mind. All right. For the grand Cherry on top, can it format the spreadsheet?
Oh, yes. Okay. Do we want to give it any direction, or should we just ask for it to format the spreadsheet?
Let's just see it format. I mean, I got faith in it right now. Feeling optimistic.
Okay.
All right. I mean, so far, top marks. I'm curious how it formats it. 3 pumpkin pies, got the quantities right. It picked columns.
15 pounds of potatoes, 6 pounds, 6 pounds, 3. This is extraordinarily impressive.
All right, watch out, OpenAI. You gotta respond now, boys. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything that would indicate. I mean, listen, one thing, maybe in a future video, what we can do is actually, I'll look into the code, or maybe we'll enlist Dylan for this, to see if we can actually just swap out the Anthropic. This is all open source. So we can see if we can swap out the Anthropic API calls with like O1 calls or something, and we can literally test how well OpenAI's models do in this exact same environment. Like, it could just be that the environment is good. No one's done the prompting's really good, right, and just like a smart model in today's world can handle this. Like, I don't want to jump through Anthropic's going to win anything, but this is really cool.
This is a very solid thing. All right, let's see formatting. Gots to know.
And it's off. It's bolded the heading. Wait, did it just freeze the rows?
It might have frozen the rows.
I mean, this is kind of what we were waiting for, isn't it?
I mean, this is kind of wild. Yeah, this is pretty wild.
Like, it's just still going.
This is more impressive to me than the Replit demo, I gotta be honest.
Wait, Chris, it's making a chart.
Wait, it's gonna make a chart. Okay.
I have no idea.
We're getting overly creative now, but we'll see.
It's probably confused because that only option under chart is grayed out. Wait a second.
Oh, it selected all? Did it figure out it's there?
Remote files.
Remote
files. What are you trying to do? Is it trying to break out?
Guys.
It's Chris.
It wants to be free.
Chris, at what point do I pull the plug? We need a feature crew backpack with the kill switch. It's adding a service. I'm actually gonna freak out. What is going on?
It's adding DoorDash. It's gonna start ordering these things.
It's just trying to save the file. Is it trying to save it like in a shareable way? Okay, rate limit. I mean, that was gonna happen.
All right, well, let's check out the formatting.
Okay, I need to grab control. Okay, so in reality, and it didn't even freeze the row. Okay, so it bolded the top row. You know,
see if it can make the categories filterable.
Oh, maybe we should just ask it to filter down to like produce and then see what it can do.
Yeah.
Hopefully it says it's the per minute rate limit, so hopefully it's been a minute. It looks like it made the columns filterable. What is going on?
All right, I think we need an end of the year roundup of most impressive demos. And currently this
Absolutely.
Ooh, I don't know if it knows to press the...
Needs to define the range. It was a little confused.
That's stuck.
It says it's going to try a different approach and click the filter button in the toolbar.
Probably going to hit a rate limit here, but we'll see.
I stopped it because I didn't want to hit the rate limit. Like it all restarted. So I guess for the viewers on that last task with the spreadsheet, I tried to stop it. Everything bricked. It's unclear where the actual error happened, whether it was in the framework or the model gave something crazy back. Unclear. We're going to move on to some other tests. Overall, the spreadsheet test and the document test in general, the planning test, very impressive. And the ability to multi-turn, the ability to like maintain its context and then transfer between files, like super impressive. So what we want to do now is see like how it can deal with different modalities. Those are all like text-based modalities. So we just want to kind of get a sense of how it can do with visuals. And the Anthropic team put this open source Paint app here, so we want to see how it can use it. So we're going to ask it to draw a tree.
They give us a toy, we're going to play with it. So let's see how it does. If you're watching this video, you're a pretty early adopter in AI, you're curious where this is headed. If you extrapolate this out a year or two, it gets pretty wild what it can do on a computer. I mean, this is, for being early days, this is pretty impressive. Just imagine this running locally on your machine.
Yeah. Like this is just a built-in feature to every computer.
Yep.
Right. This changes computing.
And I think a point we've made off camera that I don't know if we've made on this podcast is you pair this with voice. Like, expect these models to have voice control now that you're seeing things like advanced voice mode out. And more people than ever have microphones because of all the work from home from COVID, right? So you're talking about a lot of people where you can just look at your computer and tell it you want something. And it starts pulling up windows, formatting things, saving files for you. That's pretty exciting. So Jacob's asked it to draw a tree.
I mean, it has.
Didn't recognize the drawing program.
I'll tell it explicitly to use Xpaint.
Let's try to install it. It installed a second instance of Xpaint. Okay, use Xpaint to make a tree.
So it knows it needs to create a canvas. It's working to create the canvas. Progress.
Now what do you do? Pen tool, shape, where are we at?
Can click and drag. This is interesting. So it's going to click and drag. Oh, it drew a yellow rectangle. That's its trunk. It's added a circle. Decided that it's done. and it's saving the
I don't know if folks will be able to see this in the YouTube video, but there's a single yellow line to the left of that horribly colored circle.
Well,
It's trying on this one. I mean, to be fair, we didn't expect it to succeed at this because this is quite a bit more complicated, but it's giving it a college try here.
it really is.
Oh, it did make that a trunk now, right? It is actually a rectangle. It's not filled.
It is a rectangle. It's a it's a yellow, very thinly outlined rectangle, and it's decided it's finished. It's saved the tree, and like Chris said, we weren't expecting it to succeed with flying colors on this kind of task because it's been difficult for LLMs in the past. It's just interesting to see that they put the X paint there if it wasn't going to succeed. Is basically my feeling. So I wanted to test its ability to do information retrieval and basically act as like a better Google, or like be able to leverage Google to do a sort of deep search. So one thing that I've struggled with sometimes is trying to pull up primary documents for things like laws or regulations or even things that companies release, because often when you do the search, like reporting or news or journalists' takes on those actual primary sources are what come up first. So I'm going to ask the agent to see if it can do some research for us. I've picked a fun topic, which is the bipartisan Schumer rounds UFO Disclosure Act that's been discussed over the last year in both the Senate and Congress, because it's kind of fantastical and it's also bipartisan.
I want to believe.
Yep. So I'm going to ask and see if it can collect some information about that. We'll see how well it does. Reset the context again.
Does Claude replace Perplexity? Find out now. Ooh.
Did a pretty good search. And it hit an error. It's sure what it was trying to use, but whatever tool it was trying to use is blocked. This action is temporarily not available at this time due to enhanced protections for the beta release. I'm not sure. This is interesting because it seems like it might be blocking on the political nature.
It could be so. We could ask it something that's non-political, like download the latest quarterly earnings results for Google.
All right, so we've kicked it off on the backup task. Interesting to see that it went straight to the website. Like, it didn't even search. It just knew where to go. Put in the URL.
Hey, I mean, yeah, it
found it.
And yes, for the audience, I realize Anthropic is not Google, but I was just first company that came to mind.
Okay, so it looks like it is trying to download with a command, even though there's a download button on screen. But there was a file created successfully. Oh, it's stalling. It almost looks like they've tuned it to like get around problems by installing things, but it almost seems too willing to jump to some crazy solution to get.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it's doing. It's like writing a script to download I have no idea what's going on here. But really, all it needs to do is just click this save button.
Yeah, vision as a last resort instead of vision first. It's kind of interesting.
Okay, so it seems to have gotten confused again, which I think is maybe a good transition to our overall thoughts here, which is that obviously it's still pretty early days, and even in the recording this video, we hit a bunch of sort of red text errors and things breaking. But then the 50% of the time or so where it did work, it was like super impressive. And I'm already seeing a world where even with technology very similar to this, you're orchestrating over a bunch of agents, and maybe multiple agents are making an attempt at the same task, and then you've got an orchestrator agent picking the best result. So I already see a pathway to these things sort of starting to compound with other technologies and other strategies getting better. So like super excited, as Chris was saying earlier, kind of surprised at how good this was, given some of the challenges that we've seen with existing models and agents. So very curious what Anthropic did under the hood with the new version of 3.5 Sonnet to make it this much better at being agentic, and also very curious, like I said earlier in the video, just to see how it compares to 4.0.
Yeah, more than a lot of demos, this feels like a glimpse of the future, right? You're like, I can totally see having this built in. I can see opening up my computer and saying, hey, can you download the latest earnings for X, Y, and Z companies, throw them in a spreadsheet and compare them for me? And that seems achievable right now. Like, we hit some errors, we hit some issues, but there's nothing in the tech stack preventing that. And if we think about where this is in a year or two, it's wildly exciting. So I think the ball is in Google and OpenAI's court to try to respond here.
Yeah, definitely. And it just makes me excited to see what the next products, like what is OpenAI's answer going to be? What is going to be the answer from the rest of big tech? How are these things going to start to specialize in different domains? And it's probably going to be a lot of awesome content on the channel. So I'm really excited to make it. I'm really excited to try these products. If you, the viewer, are interested in that type of content and interested in staying up to date and seeing us put some of these new tools through their paces, definitely give us a subscribe or like the video, because it super helps us grow in this early state.
And we always love comments for any prompts you wish we'd try. Like, is there something you really want us to try? Is there a test you want us to perform? I think we'll try to do some user comment videos in the future. So definitely leave a comment with something you want to see done. We're happy to put it through its paces and see how it works out. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.